Hello, xin chào. My name is Lily, and today I will be performing a Vietnamese piece on the Dang Chân. The piece is titled Chân Đào Lúa Vàng, which talks about a love story on the rice fields. Hope you enjoy.
多久再没听到你对我说你最爱的故事？我想了很久，我开始慌了，是不是我又做错了什么？你哭着对我说，童话里都是骗人的，我不可能是你的王子。也许你不会懂，从你说爱我以后， 像童话里你爱的那个天使，张开双手变成翅膀守你。你要相信，相信我们会像童话故事里，幸福和快乐是结局，一起写我们的结局。
Hello and welcome to Lunar New Year Festival 2021 Unwavering. My name is Richard Nee.
And my name is Cindy Zhuang, and together we're the co-executive directors for Lunar New Year Festival, otherwise known as LNYF.
The Lunar New Year is a holiday celebrated around the world, bringing together family and friends to honor tradition and community. While our show comes late this year, we are still so excited to celebrate this holiday with you all here today.
Over the past few months, everyone involved in LNYF has been learning, preparing, and rehearsing for the show. Throughout the process, LNYF has become more than just a club. It has become a community of friends.
Beyond our performance, LNYF aims to make a positive impact on the local community. Each year, LNYF partners with a St. Louis charity. This year, we have partnered with the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition, an incredible organization that aims to build families and support networks for foster children. While our virtual show is free of charge, in past years, ticket sales have gone towards supporting our partner Philanthropy. Even and especially in these difficult circumstances, we aim to uphold our commitment to supporting philanthropic work. We encourage you all to visit the link in the description below and contribute a donation. Any amount helps.
We would now like to take this time to show gratitude. Our show would not have been possible this year without the support we received. We would like to thank our amazing advisor, Hope Young, our financial advisor, Kathy Winter, and Harvey Media Center's technology manager, Jeff Allen, for their support. We would also like to thank all of our videographers, editors, choreographers, and performers this year. In a year filled with uncertainty, they consistently put in their time, effort, talent, and creativity into producing a performance that shows the strengths of LNYF even in unprecedented times. Last but not least, we would like to thank our amazing executive board and board of directors, Ali Sun, Auntie Leung, and Elisa Shu. Without your tireless efforts and endless passion, our show would not have been possible this year.
Finally, as an organization that prides itself on ideals of diversity and inclusion, we would like to address recent events. Hate crimes against Asians has increased across the country. We hope that our show demonstrates that we are proud of our heritage and serves as a reminder that all identities and backgrounds are beautiful and deserve respect and love.
We hope that this new lunar year is defined by one word for you all: unwavering.
Unwavering strength.
Unwavering love.
And unwavering hope.
Happy Lunar New Year. Enjoy the show.
Mahalo nui a ke ali I wahine, holi I kalani o ka pohiko. Ka pipi o mai o ke hanu e nue na vai ho olu ua hali ke mole. E nana na maka I ke a o malawa, wai hawai I a ke a I ka wai.
It's 8th grade, and a black man has just been killed by police officers in your hometown. Riots have broken out along street names that you recognize while you sit with your family for hours in the glow of buildings on fire, filling up your TV screen. In the morning, an emergency assembly is called at your school, and soon your day is filled with discussions about racial profiling, police brutality, and your role in the racial politics of America. As an Asian, I didn't know where I fell in those discussions. Despite being half white, I was constantly branded as a person of color by those telling me I needed to claim my identity and otherness. But as my black peer described the instantaneous nausea and terror he felt as he was pulled over for speeding, my own examples felt inadequate and out of place. That's not and never will be my experience. Yet, often when referring to racial discrimination, someone would say the issues people of color face, as if a dark-skinned girl with tightly curled hair would experience the same forms of racism as a porcelain-skinned girl with pinned straight hair. as if the whole issue of racial discrimination didn't stem from a difference in skin tone. I had little to contribute to those discussions in the ways of personal experience, but as the day progressed, I was constantly reminded that I was, in fact, not just white. Which begs the question, what does it mean to be Asian? That day, it meant getting sandwiched somewhere between white guilt and true empathy. Part of the discussion, but not exactly. As a person of color, I felt some communal responsibility to further the conversation, contribute my own experiences. Yet I lacked any sort of personal connection beyond striving for empathy. It was similar to the feeling of getting benched during a playoff game. I wasn't out there as part of the group getting pummeled while fighting back, nor was I part of the group trying to tear them down. I never felt attacked, yet I knew if I didn't do anything, I would be contributing to the problem. All I could do was sit there and try to support them, affirm my peers' experiences, and rail with them against a broken criminal justice system that I would likely never fall victim to. Beyond that day, it meant growing increasingly bitter whenever the subject of race came up, as it was branded as a conversation about exploring one's own identity, but time after time turned black and white. Any concerns or problems I had related to my race were drowned out by the more important conversation about combating systemic racism against Black people, and it is an important conversation. It's rooted in the foundation of this country, its life and death. But being thrown into this group and then sitting there in all your person of color glory as people lament that the black girl is the only person of color in your physics class feels like a cheap way to garner some sort of solidarity of minorities. It felt like being told, you're a person of color, you're a part of this community who empathizes with one another and are connected through racial identity and oppression, but we won't ever really recognize your identity, only how it relates to someone else's. Even so, any feelings of invisibility or of being used just brought about a tidal wave of shame at my own selfishness that I could possibly turn such horrific experiences into something about myself. And I was just left with the guilt, the fear that maybe my feelings were unwarranted and maybe I was just racist, and the increasing desire to just ignore my own race entirely. Funnily enough, that wasn't hard for me to do. I'd never been that in touch with my Asian identity, personally or in society. For most of my life, I couldn't speak my mother language, and the only Korean friends I had were my cousins who were equally detached. What meager bits of Korean culture I held on to felt insignificant, an unusual middle name and eating soup I couldn't pronounce on New Year's. And until the coronavirus pandemic, I couldn't have given compelling examples of racism against Asians. Even now, I've been blessed with little to no experience myself beyond the gross ethnic lunch comments as a child that I brushed off and the fear that any academic achievement I ever produce will be seen as typical for an Asian. Growing up in a white progressive suburb and having a white father whose genetics made me ethnically ambiguous meant that I just blended in until the discussion of racial identity came up. Which I suppose is a positive. It's the colorblind principle at work. All people are human, race doesn't change that, so we should just ignore everyone's race. It's perfect assimilation. But then, what makes me Asian? Why is it that when I went to college thinking I wouldn't care who my friends were, I had this giddy feeling as I sat surrounded by my female East Asian friends in a whispers booth? Why is it that every time I see someone with dark straight hair and single eyelids on campus, a part of me yearns to be their friend? Why is it that I feel settled in LNYF? Why do I have any right to? The only Asian thing about me is my blood, and for some reason that doesn't feel like enough. It doesn't feel like a sufficient reason to claim a continent as part of my identity, or for my white friends to suggest that I can put a chopstick in my hair and it won't be racist. While race, ethnicity, and culture are all distinct concepts, it's hard to see my friends speaking to their parents in their native tongue and not feel inferior. That there's something missing in me tied to this ethnic group with a rich history and culture that I know next to nothing about. I have this overwhelming need to proclaim myself not as just a person of color, but as an Asian, specifically a Korean. But at the same time, I feel unworthy of that moniker, and I've spent most of my life trying to earn it. My identity became a dichotomy between attempting to strengthen my Asian ties and ignoring them completely. As a kid, I wore yin-yang jewelry, as if doing so would endow me with a greater sense of Asianness. Later on, I taught myself to use chopsticks so that I wouldn't have to ask for a fork in Asian restaurants. And I made myself listen to K-pop and eat Korean food regularly. Yet, it felt artificial, and more often than not, I defaulted to my white half and the white I saw around me. So, when it came time to go to college, I became determined to Asianize myself. I gave up 5 credits a semester, what would amount to a full major's worth of credit, of the little room in my schedule bogged down by a double major to learn Korean. I joined LNYF, I carefully set my 4-year plan so that I could spend a semester in Seoul despite not minoring in Korean. So, after all of that, do I feel more Asian? No. What I feel is a stronger sense of self, a greater security in who I am and who I want to be. But I'm no more Asian now than I was when I thought Kalbi was pronounced Karbi. The only Asian thing about me is my blood, and that's enough. If there's one thing the colorblind mentality gets right, it's that blood is the only thing truly different between us at birth. I don't have to prove my identity to anyone. There is nothing to prove beyond a DNA test, I suppose. I am Asian, and my experience is no less valid because it differs from a native's or an immigrant's. Perhaps I'll feel more Asian if I live there one day, but my ethnicity won't change if I never do. And maybe my role in police brutality will most likely not be as the victim or aggressor, but that does not mean I'm just a spectator, or that my actions won't support upholding or dismantling racist institutions. Nor does it mean that the real racism Asians have faced in America is inconsequential because, until recently, it may not have always come in the visceral form of violence. So, why do I feel settled in LNYF? Because the people around me exemplify what I'm working towards, and what I see in myself that has been neglected for so long. At the risk of sounding like a promo, they are confident in themselves and their identities. They don't have to scream, "I am Asian." They just live their lives as Asians. And as much as being around these people has reminded me how little I do know, what meager bits of Korean culture in my life I do have now seem precious rather than lacking. Maybe one day I'll be able to properly articulate what being Asian means to me, but for now, I'm just satisfied with finally feeling confident that I am.
symphonies. Before all I heard was silence, a rhapsody for you and me. And every melody is timeless. I just wanna be part of your symphony. We hold me tight and not let go. Symphony, like a love song on the radio. We hold me tight and not let go.
보고 싶다 이렇게 말하니까 더 보고 싶다 너의 사진을 보고 있어도 보고 싶다 너무 약속한 시간 나는 우리 겁니다 이제 얼굴 한번 보는 것조차 힘들어진 우리가 여긴 온통 겨울뿐이야 8월에도 겨울이 와 마음은 시간에 달려가네 홀로 남은 설국 열차 네 손잡고 지구 반대편까지 가 겨울을 끝내봐 그리움들이 얼마나 눈치를 내려야 그 봄날이 올까
거울을 떠드는 작은 먼지처럼 작은 먼지처럼
날리는 눈이 나라면 조금 더 빨리 내게 닿을 수 있을 텐데
난 꽃이 떨어져요 또 조금씩 멀어져요 보고 싶다 보고 싶다 보고 싶다 보고 싶다
얼마나 기다려라 또 몇 밤을 더 세워라 널 보게 될까
널 보게 될까
만나게 될까
만나게 될까いつも通りのある日のこと君は突然立ち上がり言った今夜星を見に行こうたまにはいいこと言うんだねなんてみんなしていて笑った明かりもない道をバカみたいにはしゃいで歩いた抱え込んだ孤独や不安に押しつぶされないように真っ暗な世界から見上げた夜空は星が降るようでいつからだろう君のことを追いかける私がいたどうかお願い驚かないで聞いてよ指をさす無邪気な声で
译者 Authors Unwavering Thursday, December 3rd, 2016. Oh, Shanghai, your beauty is unparalleled. Your history, your meaning, and your insurmountable growth makes me fascinated. Oh, Shanghai, I miss you. You are my cradle, my world, and my identity. And I will continue to love you eternally. During the dawn of the 21st century, I was endowed with life in Shanghai, China, a place that defined my childhood experience and early worldview. Being ethnically characterized as Han, the dominating ethnicity in China, I started my early life as a majority, who was completely unaware of the unspoken stories of minorities. As a young child, I had seen a lot and traveled far within China. Yet, being a child as I was, I would have never thought of myself going to a new country, specifically immigrating to the United States of America. And from then on, my life would completely alter into a new direction, where I personally experienced the unspoken stories of foreign minorities. Saturday, October 1st, 2016. Why? Why me? Isn't it already physically painful to have an ankle injury from falling? But why do I have to suffer emotionally? That sensation of hopelessness when others ignore one's silent calling for assistance is devastating. Shouldn't it be obvious to help the little boy who's struggling to open the door because he is preoccupied with the two crutches in his tiny hand? Shouldn't it be reasonable to know that the silent little boy also needs a hand to carry his gigantic and burdensome backpack? Shouldn't it be a little too cold to see that limping boy carry his lunchboxes and do nothing about it? Well, I'm the minority who couldn't speak. Of course I'm not a native here. I immigrated just a year ago with little English background. Language barriers are real and so hard. How could I be in class with people mumbling basomia and be expected to excel in the material? How could I make friends when I don't even know what they are saying? And how could I get help from people when I desperately need it? No one's here to accompany me. Open the door, carry my enormous backpack, and hold my lunch in place. Well, indeed, I don't think I can do it alone. I have to do it alone. Every day since I got these crutches, I feel so much pain in my armpits. My backpack's simply too heavy for me to carry alone. Sometimes, when I'm struggling to open doors with my crutches on, I just truly wish someone could help me. No one knows my struggle, and no one will help me. So that was my inner quiet as I was being left out. Language barriers can lead to so many things: miscommunication, intelligibility, and to its furthest extent, social isolation. Unfortunately, I experienced all of them. Combining these obstacles, my crutches experience taught me two finest lessons: self-reliance and empathy. Eventually, someone did help me. At the moment of helplessness, the only person I could look to was myself. I came up with strange ways to open the door single-handedly. I mastered the art of zigzag move to get myself up the stairs. I realized the key to holding lunch is to put more weight on the other side of the crutches. What I learned most importantly was paying ones, which eventually made me capable of handling immense stress and pressure. And that makes me a long-distance runner. Although I faced such a level of helplessness, there were people who also shined their lights upon me, and the light of empathy, of love, of grace, of everything good changed me. Knowing the hopelessness of neglect and the warmth of compassion, I was shown a new perspective. I dramatically changed. Empathy became part of my identity as I was seeing the geniality of empathy and hostility of apathy. Nevertheless, language barrier, emotional difficulties, and social isolation did not overcome me. Hope was the source that kept me going and protected me against the greatest storms. Friday, November 4th, 2016. There are kids just like me. People who came from different parts of the world with limited English backgrounds. I saw them in my English language learning class today, and they are from all over the world. Japan, Bangladesh, Israel, Brazil, and France, and also China. They're also speaking with spoken English with their unique accents. They're also using Google Translate and dictionary to find the words in their mother tongue. I feel like they know my struggle and they know mine too. I am not alone. Friday, April 1st, 2016. Wow! Can't believe it's been 6 months since we first met each other. We had so many great experiences during the first short period of time. We conversed so much about our differences, such as our lives for our immigration, our educational experience, and fundamentally, our language. We've learned foreign languages from each other, even though sometimes the words were not good per se. We chat using our unique style of spoken English with the help of translation. It is the best tool for us to communicate. We took pride in our origin and respect our uniqueness with sincere curiosity and understanding. I absolutely loved it. We had so many fun activities together, and I am so grateful to be in such a wonderful and caring community. Looking back, I was truly unfortunate to meet kids who had similar immigration experience as I did, and get support from those who know my struggle. Little will my young self know that it was the turning point of my worldview. That sense of resonance of being in a foreign culture was invisible force bringing us together. We were bound to each other because of similarities, but our differences. We were similar because we were different, because we had different life experiences that brought us to a new and foreign place, because we faced similar life challenges as young immigrant students. These intrinsic connections brought me to their community. My fascination with our differences and similarities forged my love of internationalism. And during the first years of my immigration, I had passed my intersection, which led me to a new direction. Monday, April 9th, 2018. My time in the program is so fun. I get the opportunity to get to know other local minorities and have professional discussions with them. Many of my coworkers are of African descent, so we had a lot of talks about cultures that are related to African American communities, and I learned so much from them. Standing from their point of view, talking through their perspective, and understanding their position are the best lessons I've learned. Beyond sharing ideas, we frequently volunteer together to help our local communities, such as preparing gifts to the disadvantaged families, hosting social events to promote social equity, assisting in teaching Polish kids how to read, and all that great stuff. It was not only satisfying to work with them, but it was also inspiring too. Slowly and slowly, I found myself involved in activities that are culturally related, which to me are no longer novel. My love of international and diversity has emerged. From the ashes of challenges faced as a foreign minority, I had come to believe in understanding each other's stories and appreciating our differences. Being with other local minorities such as those who are African descent, I had learned so much and I had grown so much. Previously considered as a majority, I was so closely connected to the stories of minorities. Not only did I hear them, see them, and experience them, but those stories also become part of my story, interconnected, expressing the beauty of infinite possibilities. Here I am, being the LNYF community and seemingly expressing the stories of Asian immigrants to those who are not familiar with them. Seems oddly familiar, isn't it? Well, this is me, believing in sharing unknown stories and with hope, in love, moving forward.
Cause I'm in the stars tonight. So watch me bring the fire, set the night light. Shoes on, get up in the morning, cup of milk, let's rock and roll. Kink out, kick the drum, rolling on like a rolling stone. Sing song when I'm walking home, jump up to the top of the brown. Ding dong, call me on my phone, nice tea and I'll get my ping pong. This is game heavy, can't hear the bass, boom, I'm ready. Life is sweet as honey, yeah, this beach chain like money. This go all alone, I'm into that, I'm good
green light, go. You remind me of suicide dolls. Pretty face with a body like whoa. Hit it with the lava lamp on. Catch a cab, pack a bag with your overnight clothes, yeah. You can look good for a living, come chill for a while. What's good for a minute, yeah. I'm just trying to get a taste before I get it like this, like that, and like this, like that, yeah. Pretty Coke bottle frame hoes. Patty cake, anything goes. Red light, green light, go. Stop playing with it, gon' break it down real low.
Put this wet, when I from the top, make it drop. That's some wet, that's some wet.
Get a bucket and a mop, that's a wet. I'm talking wop, that's a wet. Macaroni in a pot, that's a wet.
My boy Dax up in Canada.
Ice on my neck. Count up a check. Ice on my neck. Count up a check. Ice on my neck, that's incoming. I'm a pretty boy, I'm stunning. Super speed Sonic, I'm running. Super speed Sonic, I'm running. Call me Big Papa, I'm Sonic. I spot the deep when she want it. I'm a bad boy, make loving. I'm a bad boy, make loving.
You know I'm back, like I never left. Another sprint, another step. Another day, another breath. Been chasing dreams, but I never slept. I got a new attitude and a lease on life is a piece of mind. Seeking to find I can sleep when I die. Want a piece of the pie, got the keys to the ride and shit. I'm straight. I'm on my way. Get up my way. I'm running late. What can I say? I heard you died twice. Once when they bury you in the grave, and the second time is the last time that somebody mentions your name. So when I leave here on this earth, did I take more than I gave? Did I look out for the people, or did I do it all for fame? Legend is Exodus, searching for euphoria, trudging through the mud to find the present, no ignoring. I got 20,000 deep up in the street like we some warriors. My mama told me never bow your head. Whoa.
I feel glorious, glorious. Got a chance to start again. I was born for this, born for this. It's who I am, I couldn't forget. I made it through the darkest part of the night, and now I see the sunrise. Now I feel glorious, glorious. I feel glorious, glorious.
Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Huang and I am the Philanthropy Chair for this year's Lunar New Year Festival. We would like to welcome you again to the show and hope that you've been enjoying it so far. Although some aspects may look a little different than previous years, we are proud to continue our tradition of working with a nonprofit organization that uplifts and empowers people both within and beyond the St. Louis community. This year, we're incredibly proud to partner with the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition, a local organization that provides a support system for foster children and parents with the ultimate goal of finding every child a forever home. Despite the uncertainties and difficulties of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition has worked tirelessly to continue supporting the needs of foster and adoptive families in the greater St. Louis area. Here are just a few examples of the amazing work they've done for our community in the past year.
The Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition strives to create permanency in foster children's lives, and we do that through recruitment and support programs. We are taking the hardest to place kids and making sure that they find their forever families. And what I mean by hardest to place is those kids who are aging out of foster care and those large sibling groups that are really hard to place. We have the time and the staff that is dedicated and never gives up on our kids. This year, one of our recruitment programs, 30 Days to Family, is turning 10 years old, and it has placed over 1,000 kiddos. At 30 Days to Family, when they first come in, we immediately find over 180 relatives or kin to make sure that that kiddo is out of the foster care system and placed with family. And then we wrap them around in support services to make sure that that family unit can really grow and heal. When COVID hit, we really had to adjust what we did. We couldn't have the hands-on approach. There were delays in placements. So we became an advocate and a support for our families and children to make sure they had their most basic needs met. Because when your basic needs aren't met, it's really hard to heal and grow and do everything else as a family. So we created the Coalition Care Line and served over 1,000 additional families, just getting them those immediate needs, whether it be utilities, food, someone to walk them through the behavioral problems that were now happening because the kiddos were at home and parents were also at home trying to work and balance those tough activities.
I don't know if you heard, but everyone has to stay home these days because of a virus. But kids still need families. Families still need help. Good thing the coalition is always ready to jump right in. First, they made sure everyone had food to eat. Lots of people can't afford food right now. That doesn't mean they should be hungry. The coalition helped them find food for their family. They even brought it to their house. And they also help people get diapers for their babies. Do you have any idea how expensive diapers are? I don't think I need to tell you why. And because of the virus, people need masks. It's really hard to find masks for kids too. But the coalition found some nice ladies to make masks for families who need them. Then they deliver them so families can stay safe. Some moms and dads couldn't buy clothes for their kids. So the coalition collected clothes from nice people who had extra. Every kid who needed clothes got new outfits for the summer. Some families take care of a whole bunch of kids, and that was a big problem. The coalition got bags of stuff every family needs and delivered them to people's houses. They gave them other important stuff too. It made them so happy. There's lots of help out there for people who need it. If they don't have food, or if they lost their job, or if they have too many bills, they can apply for help, but it's kind of hard. Lots of people are too tired and they just give up. Some people who are older never learned how to use a computer, but the coalition saved the day. They called parents on Zoom so they can apply for help together. Don't forget to unmute before you start talking. Being a parent is hard. Kids who are in foster care have been through a lot. Plus, everyone is stuck at home all the time. It's hard to get along all the time, so the coalition made videos to teach parents how to do their best. This is Anne. Anne is a really smart lady. She knows a lot about the brain. She even started support groups so moms and dads can talk to each other. And when kids can't stay home, the coalition makes sure they can go with family. They try to find aunts and uncles, grandmas and cousins who want to help. And kids can still feel like they're at home. Here's Shanetta walking to a lady's house on FaceTime. That way she can make sure it's safe. And last of all, the coalition helps kids get adopted. Since the virus made everyone stay at home, they have more than 10 adoption days. That's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it. This is just one of the families that adopted. Look how happy they are. Thank you to everyone that helped the coalition to help families. You rock.
We're incredibly thankful for the enthusiasm and support we've received from our LNYF community this year, and our fundraising efforts and show would not have been possible without all of you. We would like to give a special shout out to all of our performers who helped raise over $100 in our fundraising efforts for the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition. Joanne Lin, Rachel Tien, Auntie Long, Kathy Joe, Anastasia Cahigal, Cass Yoshida, Richard Nee, Laura Go, and Alice Na. We would also like to give a special shout out to our representative from the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition, Janelle Castillo, for all her incredible work and for making our partnership possible this year. Thank you for everything you do. LNYF's fundraising efforts for the Foster Adoptive Care Coalition are still underway, and we need your help. As many of you know, our show shifted to a virtual format this year to keep everyone safe, but in the past, all audience members would pay a $10 donation per ticket. This year, we decided to make our show free of cost to allow friends, family, and our community to access it all over the world. Our goal this year is to raise $7,000 for the kids, and we currently stand at $5,396.04. And if you could even donate $1, this makes a significant impact. We encourage you to click the link in the description box below to access our website where you can donate to our philanthropy, the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition. Thank you for your generous time and donations, and we hope the rest of the show continues to bring you joy and inspiration.
Hi, my name is Corinne Summers. I will be doing Good Girl by Alice Dow. I hope you enjoy. She's a good girl. So kind, sweet, gentle, innocent, always listens to her parents, never speaks back at them. She's also smart. I heard she gets straight A's. These were phrases I had heard all my life, and I'd be lying if I said they didn't make me feel a little happy, proud even, especially when I'd look over at my mom's face and see that she was beaming, although she tried to pass it off as if she didn't care either way. And to me, that's all that mattered. Flash forward to my first year in college, I craved change. Yes, I was happy to be the good girl, but I wanted to be something more. Looking back, oh God, how cringe I was. I'd been mostly introverted my whole life, so I decided that college would be the perfect time to try and reinvent myself as an extrovert. It became my mission to make friends with everybody in the first 2 rows of my Gen Chem class. And that's where I met him, the very shy Asian boy with the softest smile. I don't know what intrigued me so much about him. Maybe it was that I saw a bit of myself in him, the self that often blended into the background, shy and gentle. Soon enough, a friendship formed, and we were practically inseparable. We studied together, played foosball in the duck, and spent many nights just talking about life. I felt seen for the first time, connected by the string that tied us together that was our Asian American identities. We'd both been labeled as the good Asian kids by everyone in our lives. He was the first person I opened up to outside my family, and soon enough, friendship transformed into love. At first, it was perfect. Being in a relationship with your best friend, what could go wrong? I started staying over at his dorm little by little until I practically started living there. Everything moved so fast. I had never cuddled or slept over with someone before. It felt so nice, so special. I never knew that I loved the warmth of another person next to mine until then. It was perfect. Perfect, until it wasn't. Not too long after we started dating, Shy Boy asked me if I'd ever considered having sex. I was taken aback. Sure, I had seen movies, and maybe I was a little intrigued by the concept, but nothing more. Not knowing how to respond, I just gave an ambivalent answer with a slightly nervous laugh. Little by little, Shy Boy started dropping hints that he wanted to do more sexually explicit things that I had never done before, things I didn't know anything about. I don't know how the first time you have sex is supposed to go normally, but for me, the strongest emotion to this day is pain. Every time after sex, I would go to the bathroom and notice I was bleeding. And then the next strongest emotion that would consume me would be shame. What did that mean? I didn't know. I didn't have anyone to ask because I was so ostracized by everyone else in my life at that point. I always thought that losing your virginity was this milestone I had to overcome to shed my innocence and be cool, but all I was left with was pain and the growing sense that I was losing control over myself, body and mind. I didn't even want to have sex because it hurt and I bled every time, but how could I say no when he looked so sad every time I gave excuses? How could I say no when he would say, "Okay, I guess you don't love me enough"? How could I say no when he would smile so gently, coaxing me to say yes again? He knew everything about me. So I could trust him, right? So I said yes, again and again. One day during winter break, my life took a turning point. I met up with this friend from high school that I hadn't seen in over a year. We'd just gone shopping and we were on the way home and I just spilled my guts. I don't know why I chose to open up to her, but I did. From the time the sky was a pale purple sunset to pitch black, I talked, I bawled. I didn't even know what I was saying. I was simultaneously the most relieved yet vulnerable I'd ever been. After I finished my story, my friend gave me the warmest hug. She told me I needed to get help. The warmth of her hug reminded me of the beginning of my relationship with Shy Boy. All I wanted was the warmth of another body next to mine, so how did it go so wrong? For me, finding help was the easiest part. I broke things off with Shy Boy, started talking to a therapist, and started opening up to my friends more. Telling my parents, now that was the real beast. Every once in a while, my dad would make remarks like, "He seemed like such a nice-mannered Asian boy. Maybe you should give him another chance. Boys can be boys and stupid sometimes." Every time my dad would make another lighthearted remark, I just felt this balloon of anger grow within me, larger and larger, until one day it just burst and I yelled at him, "You don't even understand anything. He's not good." But what does good even mean? Who is a good person and who is a bad person? For my parents, Shy Boy was labeled as a bad person as soon as they found out that he'd taken advantage of my inability to say no or refuse. They also yelled at me. "How could you stay in that relationship so long if it was hurtful? I can't believe you let something like that happen to you." I know my parents love me. They were just hurt by the fact that their daughter had to suffer, because what parent would ever want to see their child suffer? I remember one night when my dad just broke down and whispered to me, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." I managed a small smile and I told him, "It's okay, Dad, you didn't let me down." But I couldn't help thinking that I'd let myself down. What if I'd said no more firmly? What if I hadn't broken down over time to do something that I didn't want to do? What if he didn't even want to have sex? What if, but then could I truly blame him completely? Yes, he did coerce me, but I don't even know if he knew that he was doing that to me. After all, I'm sure that he was as lost as I was when it came to sex, because it's such a taboo in the Asian community and neither of us knew anything. But what I can say for sure is that I was hurt by what happened. And what happened was without a doubt traumatic for me. I always thought being good went hand in hand with being pure, innocent, and the model minority. But just because I'm no longer a virgin doesn't change who I am. Although how I see myself may have changed fundamentally, I am still a good person. Someone my parents are proud of, someone my sisters look up to. I'm not a good Asian girl who listens to her parents and is studious. I'm a good person who wants to be a source of positivity in this world. It would be a lie to say that today I'm perfectly okay, because truthfully I'm not. There are days that I get panic attacks and break down because I see reminders of Shy Boy across campus. There are days that I am so deeply depressed that I can barely go to class. But because I am who I am, I try to see the slivers of sunshine through the storm. So I'm even here today, telling you my story, the bad, the ugly, the messy, and everything in between. While I still struggle with what happened to me every day, I hope that by hearing my story, even one less Asian peer won't have to go through what I went through. Because at the root of this is that we as Asians just don't talk about sex. What consent really means, how to protect oneself during sex, among so many other important lessons to be learned, and I want to change that. Just like there's not one definition of good, there's not just one proper way through an individual's journey when it comes to sex, as long as it's rooted in informed decision-making and consent. No matter what path you choose to take, I hope that you know that it's a beautiful path. I am a good person, and so are you.
Hi, my name is Alice Na, and I'll be acting the Yellow 8 by Lauren Kang. As I walked into the gargoyle for my first LNYF audition in freshman year, I felt excited, but also a little more than nervous. My relationship with my Asian identity back then wasn't great. By the end of high school and beginning of college, it felt like my parents and I got into a new fight every week. They hurled racist rhetoric at me when I dated a black guy. They threatened to pull me out of WashU because they tracked my location with an app and didn't like where I was going. They fought me on getting therapy after I was diagnosed with depression. And they justified all of this by telling me that I was Americanized and claiming that they were just parenting me the Korean way. So I tried to distance myself as much as I could from my Korean heritage because the main role models I had for my culture were toxic. At the same time, I felt this visceral longing to relate to people who looked like me and shared my cultural background. I kept hearing about how I was supposed to find myself in college, so I decided to give myself one last chance to embrace my culture. I had heard from a lot of upperclassmen that LNYF was supposed to be the big Asian thing here, so I decided to bravely challenge my revulsions for Asian stuff and give it the old college try. Literally. I don't know what I expected when I got to the audition. Maybe it was a bunch of Asians immediately running up to me, embracing me, chanting, "One of us! One of us!" After which, all of my race-related anxieties would immediately fade away. Those idyllic daydreams were dashed pretty quickly, though. Everyone else who was auditioning was huddled together in small groups, eagerly catching up with each other and utterly unaware of anyone else around them. I was too afraid to go up to talk to them because they all seemed so close already. I was pretty sure a good number of the people in the clusters were other freshmen too. How have they already made so many friends? I wondered to myself, utterly confused. Was there some huge Asian-only party that I missed or something? Why don't I know anyone here? I tried to be optimistic, though. Once I joined an LNYF act, I'd have my own group of friends to hang out with. I just needed to be patient. So I was pretty devastated when I found out that I hadn't gotten into any of the acts I auditioned for. I guess this is a sign from the universe that you don't belong with the Asians on campus, I told myself. You just lost a huge opportunity to make Asian friends, all because you were too talentless to pass a single freaking auditions. Great going. After that, every time I tried to do something Asian, it felt like a test. I had this entirely self-imposed taking time bomb hanging over my head. You saw those freshmen at the LNYF audition. They all have Asian friends already. You better make some too before everyone else forms their friend groups without you. But the experience I had at LNYF auditions kept repeating itself. I would go to an Asian event, everyone there would already know each other, and I would quietly slink away, feeling awkward and ashamed. Eventually, I started thinking that there was just something wrong with me that made me not good enough for my own people. I had these two complexes about being Asian swirling around in my head. My hatred of my ethnicity stemming from my belief that Korean culture was toxic, and my fear that there was something wrong with me because I couldn't fit in with other Asians. I'll save you the extended psychoanalysis and just say that these complexes led to a lot of self-loathing, and that caused me to overcompensate like my life depended on it. Sometimes I would reject doing Asian things and hanging out with Asian people and gloat to myself about how I wasn't the stereotypical Asian who only had Asian friends, which was, of course, just a thinly veiled defense mechanism. Other times, I would think to myself, I'm going to force my way into the WashU Asian community one way or another, damn it, and attend a bunch of GBMs for Asian clubs to try to find my place. But the only thing I ended up forcing myself into was burnout and disillusionment as I continued to fail to cultivate those meaningful relationships with other Asian people that I secretly craved. It was during one of these brute force my way into being a real Asian phases that I managed to finally get into an LNYF act. But it wasn't the cure for my racial identity woes that I was hoping it would be. I had more Asian friends and acquaintances than I had when I started, sure, but I still felt like I was playing at being Asian, and I was afraid that even if I did feel a little more genuine Asianness as a result of joining LNYF, it would only last as long as the performance. But maybe I spoke too soon, because the night LNYF ended, I ended up meeting an Asian guy at an after party and we hit it off immediately. And against my expectations, my brain didn't scream, "Wee-oo, wee-oo, this one's an Asian man," every time we hung out. I was just enjoying getting to know him without feeling like I had to prove myself. Could this be a sign that things were changing?
I don't get it why you're upset. Yeah, I said it, I don't get it why you won't say it. Came a long way. Let me know what you're on, tell me what it is. Rose in your trunk, yeah, but not easy. Let me know what you're on, tell me what it is. You have to break it down for me when you sit. 你说能不能够不再像以前那样仓皇的后退？知道我说过的一切保护色虚伪，但却是你要的完美。What more can I say? You're not getting me wrong, going sideways. 或许因为我们活着从来未那样流浪着暧昧。Take it slowly, let it glide as it rolling. You ain't never gonna know me while you're acting holy. Little things that I don't need, you ain't even gotta tell me. I'm like, what more can I say? You're not getting me wrong, going sideways. 或许因为我们活着从来未那样流浪着暧昧。在无言对白，在一个卑微日风落地尘埃，还在原地依然徘徊。我从未试着找到你，因为将你隔离是我想要保护自己，掐灭火花是该醒了吗？此时凌乱，我宁愿醒不来。And far away, I just roll my eyes and wait. Too much pride to say you're sorry. Just heat it up like Kalahari. So baby, ooh, can this battle just be over? Shrink the space between, come closer. If you just say my name, boy. Say my name, boy. Say my name, boy. 'Cause there's only one that says it like you. Say my name, boy. Say my name, boy. Say my name, boy. 'Cause there's only one that says it like you. You know I'm your type, right? Mark your calendar, tonight's gonna be your life's highlight. Boy, we gon' roll up, we gon' roll out. Look, this is the land of fast, but you ain't used to that. First one up your last, you can stay in your past, honey. I don't stop for no one, but I pause for you. So let's go downtown and get real high. Here be psycho to psychoanalyze. Leave all of your inhibitions behind. Tonight let's test all the borderlines. Like how does the indigo go? Take the long go back home. And one body superimposed right on top of yours. Oh, as far as the indigo goes, I'm hating that you're still in your clothes. They touch me slow, how does she like
The relationship I developed with this guy was undoubtedly the most Asian one I'd ever been in my life. He would bring me his mom's kimbap sometimes, and I would help him with his Korean homework, and I would feel a little less lonely every time we talked about the struggles of being Asian American. But strangely, within the context of that relationship was also the least Asian I'd ever felt. Those stressful alarm bells telling me that I had to act a certain way for other Asian people to accept me had disappeared. I started realizing through that relationship that not being exactly the same as other Asian people didn't make me less Asian than they were. And on the other hand, making friends with other Asian people or doing Asian things didn't make me a stereotype. Before I had that realization, the word Asian felt kind of like the yellow version of the scarlet letter, a huge letter A on my chest that let people, both Asian and non-Asians, make certain assumptions about me. And my racial self-reckoning, if you want to call it that, was like ripping off that yellow A. Asian wasn't a mold that I had to cram myself into by virtue of my Korean DNA anymore. It wasn't a test or a ticking time bomb either. It was just a state of being, a part of who I was. And it was a state of being I shared with other people. And for the first time, I found joy in being able to relate to them through that. After my boyfriend and I split up, I was afraid that my new, healthier ways of processing my racial identity would leave with him. But it turns out I didn't need to worry. I quickly realized that while my ex may have been the only other Asian person I was close to when we first started dating, he was far from the only one by the time we broke up. That initial close relationship I had developed with an Asian person had given me the confidence and enthusiasm I needed to form others. And the love and support that my new Asian friends showed me helped me realize that I could feel a sense of belonging within Asian communities, even if the specific people within them came and went. So, where am I now? To start, I'm honestly having a lot of fun with being what I call a born-again Asian. After avoiding doing anything too Asian for years because I associated Asianness with trauma, I'm really into K-pop and Korean food and studying Korean history now. And I'm falling in love with the culture that I'd once taken for granted as though I were experiencing it for the first time. I've also made peace for the most part with the idea that even though Asian culture has a ton of problematic elements, there's still ways to love my culture while rejecting the bad parts. I've realized that there are other Asian American kids out there with similar stories to mine, who also reject the anti-Blackness and sex negativity and stigma against mental health of our parents' generation. And that gives me hope that things can change. I admittedly still fall into those old patterns of insecurity and overcompensation sometimes. I'll admit that my heart hurts a little whenever my friends talk about how much fun they had in LNYF during the years that I didn't get in. And when that happens, I'll sometimes fall back into those old thought patterns of, well, at least I'm not as stereotypically Asian as they are. But part of ripping off that yellow A from my chest meant that the yellow A's that I had mentally stapled onto other Asians' chests fell off at the same time as mine did. Without realizing it, I had been categorizing Asian people as either stereotypical Asians or Twinkies because I felt so insecure about my own identity. But now I know that every other Asian person's personal journey and definition of Asian are valid, no matter how stereotypical or unorthodox they are. And that includes mine. So what is my own definition of Asian, you ask? My appearance, my work ethic, and my middle name. My painful memories of emotional abuse and of rejection. The love and solidarity I feel from my Asian friends. The tremendous amounts of community and joy that my Asianness has given me all fit into it. And the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The complexity of it all is that being Asian isn't a bad thing, but it's not even close to being all good all the time. So I'll just say it just is. It's just me. And whatever it is, I don't want to run away from it anymore.
can't take me anywhere, anywhere. You can't take me anywhere, anywhere. I'm still uninvited, I'm still gonna light it. I'm going insane and I don't care. Whatever they tell you. Dancing's not a crime unless you do it without me. Unless you do it without me. Oh, dancing's not a crime unless you do it, do it, do it, do it, do it without me. Without me. And if you're not crawling with him, I won't take it lying down. I got a few lawyers, and you're guilty as charged, guilty as charged. We could be waltzing, yeah, but darling, don't be throwing shade now. So call me St. California if you add another altar. Just give me your vows, yeah. You can't take me anywhere, anywhere. You can't take me